welcome to the show. It is me, your girl Labora Lee, aka Cat Lee, and
you have now tuned in to Ambitiously the podcast.
Today is special because today is the very, the very first episode of Hood History. What is Hood History, you say? Well, Hood History is a chance for us to travel the world, a chance for us to indulge in the past. So Hood History is my version of what history looks like, besides the way you read it in the books. I feel like you need to know where you came from to know where you're going. So Hood History is my version of history. I'm gonna paraphrase a lot. I'm not gonna be, textbook with it, but we're gonna get down to it. So today's juicy episode is the beginning of where I'm from. I am from Baltimore, Maryland. Originally born in North Carolina, but raised in Baltimore, Maryland. So I wanted to take a look at how this city became the city of Baltimore. Now most people say, oh, well, it just said 1779. Was it 17? Yeah, 1779. That is not the beginning of Baltimore. A lot of people don't know that Baltimore started out kind of different than what you believe. So I'm going to give you the insight of that, and we're going to talk about the Black culture of Baltimore. Baltimore has always been a town or a city of violence, and so I want to change the narrative of what the media perceives it to be on our behalf as African American citizens of Baltimore. I want to take a journey back and talk about a few things that may or may not have happened, but for the most part, we know that they happened. So, sit back, relax. I might say some things. I'm not going to read it the way the textbooks read it. I'm going to read it the way I'm going to tell the story the way I need to tell the story. First things first, though. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. It's a great help to what we try to do over here at Ambitiously the podcast. And so I think we should do it right. Now, there will be a commercial, but probably at the end of this journey, as I want to get into it. So, let me put my little... So, we're going to go back to 1608. In 1608, man, just imagine this. The lands are free of buildings. There's no real... It's just trees. Just trees and ocean and river and paths and lakes, natural ones. But that's all it is, okay? So Captain John Smith. Oh yeah, Captain John Smith. Oh, it's the one you're thinking about. The one who is associated with Pocahontas. So anyway, he decided that he wanted to go on a little scrimmage, so to speak. He wanted to go out and see what the world had to offer. So he explored or traveled through the Patapsco River, and what is now known as the Middle Branch. But he sailed the Patapsco, and he came along this land, and he's like, this would be a dope place to farm, and the natives are nowhere to be seen. But here's the thing. This is where he got it twisted. They were here. They was just, the thing about Native Americans is that they always know when it's time to transition. So we might be set up right here for right now, but we're going to pack it up and move this way because this season is coming, like hurricane seasons and tornadoes. They move around accordingly because that's in their nature. So there were Native Americans here, but at the time that he sailed and called himself coming through and checking out the land, they were elsewhere. They were around, but elsewhere. Okay, so we're gonna get to that later on too. But let's continue. So he was the same John Smith, Pocahontas. Just keep that in your mind. So this dude was all over this little country right here of ours. He was all in it. So in the early 1600s, the Baltimore vicinity was sparsely populated, if at all, by Native Americans. Baltimore County area northward was used as hunting grounds for the Susquehannock Native Americans living in the lower Susquehanna. All right. They were used, by the river. Then you had the Iroquois. Those people were here too. And then the Powhatans, which they pretty much did, the Potomac area, like south into Virginia. So like it was a Native American, and there was some Algonquin, whatever. They were in the area. It was a lot of the Piscataways. They were here too. So it was a lot of Native Americans in the area, but when England came over here, King George and them, they wanted what they wanted, and it's always been the system of pushing them out. You feel me? Pushing them further away so that we can have the land. So that's kind of what was going on around that time. Now, to give you a little bit about John Smith, if you don't know, he was an explorer, he was a soldier, he was an author, and he was associated with Jamestown and again Pocahontas, but research has told that their story that they give you at Disney is totally not their story. That's not what happened. It's not what happened. But anyway, we're gonna keep it moving. We gotta keep it moving because we're talking about how Baltimore came to be Baltimore City. Now, in 1729, we had a lord here, and you'll see him. I'm gonna play this again just so you can be familiar. That is his picture that is playing on the screen. Let me push play. It'll come up. But anyway, his name is Lord Baltimore. So let's get into it. In 1729, correct myself. Baltimore was founded, but it wasn't Baltimore City, it was Baltimore Town. And it was founded and named after the first colonial governor, Lord Baltimore. Baltimore, the name comes from an Irish barony of Baltimore, which he was Irish, he came over here, he became the Lord. So that family would be the Calvert family. The city is named after the second Baron Baltimore Cecil Calvert. He was an Anglo-Irish member of the Irish House of Lords and founding prior order of the Providence of Maryland. So they came here, they found, the whole time it was weird. I'm on this land. My flag is here. It's mine. My crest is here. I'm in charge of this land right here. But of course, Ireland was under King George, or the King of England at that time. I don't know if it was King George or maybe his father. But the point is, it was under probably like Queen Elizabeth. I gotta get that together. But nonetheless, that's what he was. He was a baron. They came here, him and his family. They saw the Baltimore Manor was the name of the estate in County Longford, which the Calvert family, barons of Baltimore, owned in Ireland. So that's how it pretty much, that's how they came up with Maryland and, the names because if you go through Maryland, like a lot of the cities and towns have a lot of the same street names. You have Lord Baltimore Drive, you have Baltimore Street, you have, so it goes and so forth and so forth. But we'll get to that another day. Now, so the Baron, his people, they came over here from Ireland. They like, we get ready to settle down, put our little fingers all up in the mix and see what we can do here in this newfound land. Because it wasn't called America then, it was called Newfoundland. Baltimore is an Irish name for Bally and Timor, meaning the town of the big house. I hope I said that correctly because I probably didn't, but that's not the point. So this happens. Now they ready. They like, all right, we got our little land. It was created as a port for shipping tobacco, grain, and waterways for for flour milling, because you needed. They were innovative when they got here. Like I think people just think they just came here. It's like, you know what? We in here, but we don't know what we doing. But when they got here, they got to the ingenuity, which is why Baltimore is the city of first. It's just a fact, and we're gonna get to that. But which is why Baltimore is the city of first. And you're welcome for a lot of the things that you have in your homes, and we'll talk about that later as well. But you're welcome. You're welcome. So now we got it. Now Baltimore is a town. Of course, there's a lot of things that's going on, and it really got popping after the Revolutionary War, the American Revolutionary War. But you gotta get to all of that. So let's talk about it as like a Baltimore town in 1752. It is a colony. It's a European colony. So you got people from all places coming here because it's the newfound land. It's like popping in America. Everybody want to be here. Like, oh, I heard. Well, not really necessarily, because usually what happens, some people would volunteer to come to America, and some people are forced to come to America. And I know you think I'm talking about slavery, and I am going to get into that in a second, but no, that's not where we at right now. Although slaves were a part of that, because that was what was going on over in Europe at the time as well. But no, some people were made to come here because they were criminals, or the people that they didn't really want to see the have-nots, so to speak. So some people were forced, some people volunteered, but it was to settle the land because they wanted to have an extension of England. All right, so and other countries that were associated, like Spain, because they had South America popping, in Portugal, them also, and other strongholds. So we'll just say European colonization on this side of the world, but it's specifically in Maryland. So the earnest with the arrival of merchant ships, the Ark, carrying 140 colonists into the Potomac River, St. Clements Island, but I'm traveling the Potomac River. So some of the Europeans began to settle as far north as Baltimore County, that's a whole another thing in itself, and it's a fun fact about that. I think that should be like a whole nother show, but yeah, it's a fun fact about how Baltimore County and Baltimore City kind of came up with how they decided to expand on what was and what is not. We'll talk about it though. Since Maryland was a colony, Baltimore streets were named to show loyalty to the mother country, England, and kings and queens such as King George, and you got King George, you got Caroline, Maryland was named for Queen Mary. So it's we get to it. But the original county seat known today is called Old Baltimore, which was located on Bush River and within the present day Aberdeen proofing grounds. So to break that down in layman's terms, Aberdeen proofing grounds, that is actually where, in that region, that is actually where Baltimore started. So the Baltimore that you see today, the Inner Harbor, that ain't where it was at, yo. It was all the way in Aberdeen proofing grounds in that region. And you know, they got into some warfare with some of the natives, and it got crazy. And then they had this whole, it's other things that we were dealing with in them times too, because you got to remember, they're over here and they moving, so they're not really in a space where they know the climate, the weather, and how everything is going. They don't know any of this. All they know is they came to this new land and they trying to take over. Problem is the elements are different than they are in Europe over here in the United States. So they started getting sick. And then they're intermixing with the natives as well. Like, they trying to push them out, but they trying to learn their ways because they're here and they know the land. So then you got smallpox breaking out, and it was like a big hot mess, honey. You got all kinds of epidemics popping out. But it was just nuts. It was chaos. And we think we got it bad. But let's get into some more to talk about it. So, now, something's dying, one of the phones. Okay. But anyway, so, let's keep pushing. So, they were all up in the mix, but they were forming this place that we call Baltimore. But it wasn't here, it was there. Aberdeen. That's Aberdeen in that region. So, So they built the square. They like, all right, this is where it's going to be at. This is what's popping. So, then in 17, here's one of those fun facts that I told y'all I'm going to pop in every now and again. And this is where the first title comes in. So, we established our public market system in 1763 because, it's nothing like order. Put it together, now it's a system. And I will say, as a Baltimorean, that they're good for trying to put some systems together. Now, do they always work? Not necessarily, but, it's trial and error. You figure it out as you go along. But anyway, so, I said 19, I gotta stop saying 19. We are taking ourselves into 1700s now. So that was in 1763, public market system, they built one. And then one of the most renowned markets in the world, especially in America, when people come here, they be like, I want to go to Lexington Market. I got beef with Lexington Market though. But it was founded in 1782. It's one of the oldest continuously operating public markets in the United States today. It was also the center of slave trading. Yes, you heard me. Yeah. I posted this on my social media this week. And I don't know, people just probably skim past it. But that's why I'm in my feelings about Lexington Market, because, all my life, I've been going to this market. My parents made me go to this market. Sometimes I went on my own. Yeah, and I never knew this was a location for the slave trade. Oh, we're gonna get into that too. But that's what was going on. So Lexington Market was selling slaves. Well, they was allowing slave trading to go down in there. Enslaved black people were sold at numerous sites here in Baltimore, which I have a map. We're going to jump on that in a second. Through the downtown area specifically. So, oh my gosh, that make all the sense now. With sales advertised in the Baltimore Sun. And you know what? I wanted to incorporate that in the show, but I'm probably not going to be able to do it. But both tobacco and sugar cane were the labor-intensive crops. So, sugarcane sugar. And you know what? This city has Domino sugar, and I'm not gonna say it's the monopoly of sugar, because you can get other brands, like the off brands and whatever. But Domino sugar is the sugar, specifically here in the United States, and I'm quite sure in other places as well. But Domino sugar is the sugar factory here. And when you come down to Baltimore, the Inner Harbor area, you'll see the big old sign. It's lit, it's illuminated, and it says Domino sugar. We're gonna talk about them later on though. But yeah, so that sugar cane was where it was at, and then they refined it. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. So now, one of the first, in 1774, Baltimore established the first post office system in what became the United States, and the first water company to charter and newly independent nation, Baltimore Water Company, in 1992. So, and with all that going on, there is innovation. It's innovation. They're like, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And as I go through this journey, because we got to pick up where we left off, and it's going to be in the 1800s and the early 1900s. But anyway, so we got the post office. We got the waterway company. The water company. We popping. We got all the new stuff. But then Baltimore, the Revolutionary War broke out. City leaders Jonathan Plowman Jr. led many residents to resist against British taxes. They're not trying to hear it. Like, they're like, why do we gotta keep paying them and they're not even here? Why? Hold on, let me get this right. Why do we gotta keep paying? Like, why are we doing this? They're not even here to reap the benefits. Why are we paying them? So they're like, all right, come on, y'all, we gotta resist these taxes. And then they signed the merchants signed an agreement, and they like, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna refuse to trade with Britain. And then, it started getting sticky. But see, this wasn't just happening here in Baltimore. This is happening in Philadelphia, in New York, in Massachusetts. It's happening in Virginia. Everybody's feeling like, why are we paying these people who are not here, not in the present? He's supposed to be our king, but we don't see the king because we're here. Our families are here. They would, if you were of a certain breed or ancestry, you could leave here, go over there, join the military there, be a part. But this was your home. Most people weren't just getting up and going over to England. They weren't. So so they made this decision. We tired of paying these British taxes. We're not paying them anymore. So what y'all gonna do? What y'all want to do? That's what they said. And so then, the Second Continental Congress met in the Henry Fight House from Baltimore. From December to 1776. I don't know why I keep saying 19, but we'll get into these locations. And to February 1777, effectively making the city the city, Baltimore City, because a lot of meetings happen here that a lot of people don't know about. But it pretty much made Baltimore like the temporary capital of the United States. It was temporary. It wasn't like we were, that, and that also played a part in how Washington D.C. came to be where it's at. But that's a little later on. We'll talk about that another time. But it kind of formed a little how that came to be as well. But Baltimore at the time, it was like everybody was coming together in Baltimore, having mad meetings. And I got some locations for y'all later, but having mad meetings. They like, we tired of this. Like, what are we doing? So that's what happened. So I'm not going to get into the Revolutionary War. I gotta save some. But as we all know, in 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed, and 4 Marylanders went and signed that declaration. 4 people from Maryland, some from Baltimore. They went to sign the Declaration of Independence. They're tired of it. They're ready to I'm tired of it. And so then, we going through the Revolutionary War. All types of people fought in that war. Some retreated to the side of the British. A lot of African Americans did so because it was like, what? Like, y'all want us to, all right, so listen. Before the Revolutionary War, slavery was some bullcrap. After, it changed a whole lot about what was going on with the slaves. So after the Revolutionary War, Baltimore's economy and population grew, capitalizing on industries along the Mill Valleys and the deep water ports of Fells Point, which is also now a part of the Inner Harbor section of Baltimore. So when you come here, Fells Point is where everybody parties now, but nobody understands the significance of what was going on in that area. And it's a location I want to talk about. We're going to talk about that later. But Fells Point area, nobody has any clue about what was going on there. And it went through like different transitions throughout the years, and I'll talk about that just like when we get to like the times of Frederick Douglass and then the times of Billie Holiday. But Fells Point plays a very focal point in Baltimore history. But anyway, so the slave trade, though, it flourished in Baltimore. It flourished specifically in Baltimore's port. The 1790 census lists twice as many slaves as free persons of color. And what was going on was like they had these they had like a whole industry, a shipbuilding industry going on as well, along with the trade of sugar cane and all of that good stuff. So Fells Point depended on the African American labor, both enslaved and free men. Black men worked as maritime trade, worked in all types of maritime trades as joiners, caulkers, painters, carvers, glazers, plumbers, sail makers, and any other common labor type of job you could have had at that time. So yeah, Baltimore had a big population of free and enslaved people. The ship at the time that was very popular that they started them here is called the Clipper, or the Clippers, and it extended its trade to the Caribbean as well. But the United States Navy first ship was the Constellation. It was launched in Baltimore in 1797. So all of these things are happening. Everything, like all of these things are happening. They building the ships. They big on the trade because it's a port city. It's one of the largest port cities in the United States. So yeah, a lot of things was going on. The Navy really got its popped here. This city played a huge part in the Navy. But that goes to show you about what I was saying about Baltimore's attachment to violence. Because a lot of things happen here, a lot of wars, a lot of crazy stuff happened here, or a lot of part in the war, both wars, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, like a lot of crazy things happen here. So I'm like, okay, how do we go about it and saying that, Baltimore, and it's always been a violent city. It's just, how do we go about fixing it? Because it can't be that it just became a violent city. I have more stories to tell you where we're gonna make a point of, and we're not always gonna talk about Baltimore and hood history, but I felt like I should start here because this is my city. And so I want you guys to get some understanding about what Baltimore is and what Baltimore is not. So they in the shipping industry, they in the shipbuilding industry, they're obviously in the slave trade and some more things. So I'm gonna hold on. So got all that going on. They building ships, they build building warships, building up the Navy. They pretty much, Baltimore's in a harbor is pretty much where they was doing a lot of stuff. All right, so the Continental Congress met in Baltimore from December 1776. I gotta stop saying 19, but December 1776 to March 77, and it was feared that the British would attack. It was feared that the British would attack Philly, so they was like, all right, well, where else we gonna meet? Well, let's go to Baltimore, and then the nation's capital. So it was a lot going on, but the town of Baltimore, Jonestown, and Fells Point were incorporated in the city as the city of Baltimore in 1796. Well, the process started in 1796, but it was really fully a city in 1797. And the city remained as a part of the surrounding Baltimore County. It continued to serve as the county seat from 1768 to 1851, in which it became an independent city. But in this episode, I said I was going to talk about some things, and I'm going to talk about some things. I want to show y'all. Let me see if it's, I think it is. So, yeah. Okay, so, did I get rid of it? No, that's okay. So, there are some things that I want to show y'all. Like the African American society in general, this is a heavily populated, I want to say, by African Americans. By African Americans. This city is heavily populated by African Americans. There's a lot of reasons why. One is that here we go. One is that there were a lot of opportunities to be free here if it was done a certain kind of way. You could be here, you could live here, and you could be a free person of color. But then there's a situation where you're coming here from Africa and you're on a boat, you're on a ship, and they bring you to this land, and now you are an enslaved person. And you didn't ask for this shit. You didn't ask to bring me, I want to be enslaved. Nobody asked for that. Nobody. But it happened to some of our ancestors, and they became slaves involuntarily. All right, so let me put this up. But what is a beautiful thing is, like, Baltimore's historical society. A lot of people work, and I'm gonna make sure I leave a lot of my resources. I'm gonna add that on. A lot of my resources for this particular episode came from Baltimore's historical society. It came from a lot of research, different areas, but I wanted to learn more about what the city is and why is it like how it is. And so this is a beautiful place, and I've been studying this particular map for a minute now, and so I'm gonna put it on the screen so that you can see the map. But we're gonna talk about what's on this map really quick, because I think in order to really get an understanding, you have to kind of look at it from a certain standpoint. So I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna get down here, and then I'm gonna come over here. We're gonna talk about it. So first things first. Of course, they had taverns, they had inns, they had all kinds of things going on at the time because, you know, it was the early years of what was going on, what was going to form America. So right here we have in the yellow, those are all the taverns and the inns that were surrounding the port, because remember, this is the port. Patapsco River, this is their way in. Let me let you know how it goes. And you see bridges and all of that good stuff now, but this is their way in. Let's move it in. The ocean, and then this little area right here where a lot of things are going on the trade standpoint. Now, in the blue, the light blue, that is, we have what are auction houses. These are the places where, so anywhere you see a blue pen, those are the places where the slaves were traded. So we have a few auction houses spread it out. So you can see, if you're from Baltimore, these areas look very familiar to you, because you've traveled throughout these areas all the time, like Charles Street. My mom's job is not far from where one of the auction houses were. Her old job, she doesn't work when she retired. But let's see. We got Water Street. Yeah. Frederick Street. There was one there. Gay Street. Aha. Yeah. So Baltimore was infamous for trading the slaves. That was their thing. They were really into it. So then, we got General Intelligence Office saying, yeah. They were talking trash and all of that good stuff. Now we got the markets. The markets are looking like they're the purple tags. So remember, I said they were selling slaves at Lexington Market, right? So if they were selling slaves at Lexington Market, what would make us think that they weren't selling slaves at the other markets? Because they were. It was going down. And here's Lexington Market. Let's get them on the screen. Now, this was a focal point for selling slaves. So if you had Lexington Market, and then you had Broadway Market, which will be here. Broadway Market, and then you had Hanover Market, which would be here. Then you had Center Market. So you have all these markets. I think this was Center Market right here. You have all these markets. You know that slaves are being sold there, because Lexington Market wasn't the only one. They weren't. And then last but not least, this little greenish color, these are where the slaves were held. So when you come up Martin Luther King Boulevard and you come across West Pratt Street, know that there was a slave pen there. Or when you go see those great Oreos that you love so much, remember that area right there was also, guess what? A slave pen. That's where the slaves were. Where else? Conway Street. What else? Light Street. Yes. And that one's very close to the harbor. So I can imagine that was definitely where slaves were held and kept. Let's see what else we got here. When you get to Frederick Street, that was one. East Baltimore Street, yep. I could see it. Yeah, Pratt Street was popping on the slave tip though. Because you had one here on Martin Luther King, what is now Martin Luther King Boulevard. And then you have another one that was on Howard Street, which is so insane. But it would make sense because that is very close to, drum roll please, Lexington Market. So it was a lot of places that, you know. Then you got the penitentiary. You know that was part of it. And they're just now getting rid of some of that stuff. But you know that was a part of it. Who would even, like, if y'all tore it down and tried to turn it into properties, I don't think anybody wants to live there. It's a lot of old, creepy energy in that area. But yeah, so you see the list of all the slave pens and jails. That means a lot of black souls were housed in this area. Yeah, just thought I'd throw that in there because I found it very interesting when I first saw this map. It's another one I have to, and it's more on the graphic side and the digital side, but I want to bring that map on here too. I think I'll do that in another episode. But this journey of how Baltimore became Baltimore. Baltimore has always been a violent city. So it's how we going to change it. It really is. But there are some more things we will learn about Baltimore and hood history. There are things that we will learn about outside of Baltimore and hood history. It's so much history. It's like, how can we just stop with one? Like, so many places to speak on. So many. And so I'm going to just go through my passion. But this shit always been fucked up here, y'all. So, I don't know. But I'm going to get out of here. I love you guys. And until next time, episode 2 will be next weekend. Not this weekend because episode 1 is on. But it will be here. So I had a lot of fun doing this episode. I didn't know how I would feel about it. I was nervous because this is something different than what we do. But we're going to keep it up because we got so much more to talk about. There's so much more to get into. So Hood History on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Make sure you tune in. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. It will be there. It'll be there. But with that being said, I gotta get out of here. I love you. Mind your business. Love your babies and stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. That's all you gotta do. And everything else will work itself out. And I love you guys. Bye. Bye-bye. I'm gonna get out.